They took another chain and they pulled this. Okay, this is where it gets a little PG-13. They pull this chain down and there's a big...
Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the 1357 podcast. My name is Morgan Young, and I am thrilled and grateful you're tuning in to yet another episode. I'm so pumped for this episode because this is all about my experiences with Burning Man 2024. I have all the stories to share, so I'm pumped. But at the same time, I'm a little nervous because these are some of my special stories that I hold near and dear to my heart, and sharing them with people makes them susceptible to judgment. And what are you guys going to think? But honestly, I don't really care. So love you. And this is my experience and I had a blast. So welcome. And a little bit about the 1357 podcast. 1357 is what we would chant as a cheerleader. I was a cheerleader for 20 years, and we would chant that to get through the pyramid, the toughest part of the routine. That 1, 3, 5, 7, 1. And so when we would chant that, it would keep everyone motivated and in sync, pushing through that most challenging part of the pyramid. So that's what I want to do for you guys. Help push you through the most challenging part of your lives. And whether I'm doing that through the podcast or through life coaching or yoga, however I can help, that's my joy in this life. And with the 1357 podcast, it's 1 miracle moment, 3 questions, 5 tips, and a 7-minute chit chat, as you hopefully know already. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to hop right in because you already know me. You already know I already posted about what Burning Man's about. Why do I go every year? I try to go every year. So if you haven't caught that one, I recommend watching that one first so you can hear a little bit about Burning Man before I tell you all the stories about it. It'll just tie it all together. Okay, so 1 miracle moment. My first miracle moment was one night. And so I love riding around by myself on the Playa. Don't get me wrong, love it. But this one night, I really wanted to go and see my friends and be out with my friends. But I was helping people at the airport camp with serving drinks and dinner and cleaning up, and I was not able to make it out whenever all my friends went out. And when I say we go out, it's not easy to leave the house, if you will, because leaving the house entails getting your bike prepared, having everything you need for the night. So you probably need a change of warmer clothes with you, and how are you going to fit that in your bike basket? And there's just a lot of nuances that you need. You need a lot of person lights so no one runs into you when it's super dark. You need bike lights, and making sure you have enough water, an extra cup for whenever you go to different bars and you get drinks. You have your ID, you have everything you might need for a night out at Burning Man, because it's radical self-reliance. You want to have everything you need and not go ask for it or rely on somebody else. So I made sure I had everything I needed, and I trekked off by myself for a night out on the Playa. Now, I kind of knew where my friends were going to be, but I hadn't been to where they were at yet. And where they're at, so Burning Man is about bigger than the size of Manhattan in New York. It's huge. So that's why it's best to have an electric bike when you go. And there's about 60 to 70,000 people there, which is larger than a Jags game. It's a ton of people. So running into someone is a challenge. If you separate from your people, there's a big chance you're going to not be able to find them later. And when I went out, I was going out by myself, like I said, riding around looking for, I think it was like 10 o'clock in G, because the layout and the structure of Burning Man is set up like a clock. And so 10 o'clock in G, I'm looking for it, and I'm riding around, and it was so hard for me to find. Typically, I know my way around Burning Man pretty well, but certain streets are just a little more confusing than others. And I got pretty lost. So I'm about an hour and a half late to where my friends are supposed to be. Now, I don't know if they're still going to be there. I am just kind of going there with fingers crossed, hoping that they're going to be at that location that they said they were planning on going to, because they may have shown up and it may have already all happened and then they left, or who knows what. So I'm riding around and I come across an alien bar. I kid you not, every single person at this alien bar is dressed like an alien. It must have been an alien party or something. And so I was the alien in the room whenever I showed up because I was not dressed like an alien. So I go in and go to the bar and they're like, hey, our drink of the night is alien piss. I was like, okay, fill her up. So I was drinking my alien piss. I was like, thanks, you guys. Neener, neener. And then I rode my bike and was drinking my alien piss and looking for my friends. Looking for this place called Mickey Beach. So I swear this alien piss was the best drink I had on the Playa at Burning Man. I can't tell you what it was, but it was my favorite drink. So if you guys are listening, thank you, aliens, because that was my favorite drink on the Playa. Alien piss. Okay, so I'm riding around and then I get called. So when you're riding around, people are like calling you into their camps and into their parties or bars or whatever it is. There's always like one person out there who's like letting you know what is going on inside. Excuse me. It's like the welcoming committee. And so there's this one guy who's like, hey, you got to come in here. You got to come check out Mickey Beach. It's going to be awesome. We're having DJs. Let's go. Come on. I'm like, oh, okay. Goodness. Fine. So I lock up my bike and I walk inside. I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. And I had forgotten that Mickey Beach was where my friends said they were going to go. I just knew it was 10 o'clock in G. And so I walk in there and everyone's wearing these ears. I'm like, okay, this looks girly and cute, whatever. And then I'm like, kind of like walking like Eeyore a little bit because I missed my friends and I really wanted to be there with them. I didn't feel like socializing with new people in that moment. So I'm walking in there and then before you know it, they're like, Dynamo, oh my gosh. Dynamo is my Playa name. So I was like, this is incredible. I was just shocked that I found them because it felt like this long excursion of me not being able to find them. And then when I did find them, I was so happy. And so we danced and Goldfish, a DJ, was playing. I swear that was the best music set I heard at Burning Man. It's really right there with Griz because I did get to see Griz. He came out of retirement after a year and a half to play at Burning Man 2024. And not only did I get to see it, but I got to dance on the stage right in front of Griz. Absolutely mind-blowing. Highlight of my experience. That was a miracle moment, was dancing for Griz with, a bunch of other people. Anyone can hop up onto the stage, but the fact that I was able to do that and I had plenty of room for me to dance my heart out to these crazy techno beats, oh my gosh, I was so happy. So that was a huge highlight, huge miracle moment, both of them. Finding my friends, listening to Goldfish, dancing in front of Griz, and I'm going to slide one more miracle moment in there just because I can. When you lose something at Burning Man, typically it's gone forever. It depends because the Playa provides, and the Playa is the dust. It's the ground that we all walk on. It's literally dust on the ground. And when there's a whiteout, the Playa dust gets blown up, and whiteouts happen pretty frequently. If there's the slightest bit of a dust storm, it can lead to a whiteout. And so that's why we all have masks and goggles, is in case of a whiteout. You just throw your mask and goggles on and you're good to go. So Playa, okay, lost my driver's license at a bar. It fell off of me because I had this cute little holder for my ID and it was on my backpack and it must have just fallen off. And we were bar hopping at the time. And so we started out at this, it was like a hole in the wall kind of bar. Nothing special about it, just grungy. And it was where all the older burners go. And it was like a Daytona bar, a biker bar. So that's where that's where we started the night of this bar crawl. We went to a Western bar after that. So you walk into the two floppy doors where you just like kick the doors open. So I did. I kicked the doors open. I'm like, what do we have here? And then I go up to the bar, and this one was kind of a quiet bar as well. I don't know what was up, if it was like an early night or what, but it was kind of quiet in this section of the Playa, which is nice. So I go to this bar, we sit down, and they're like, you guys want a drill pickle? I was like, I want a drill pickle. And so they take a pickle and a drill, and they drill a hole into the end of the pickle and gut it out, and it makes a cup. And so then they pour whiskey into the drilled pickle and hand you the whole entire pickle, and you do the shot of whiskey and then you eat the pickle. Phenomenal. Great experience. Highly recommended at your next gathering. Get yourself a drill pickle. So drill pickle, great. And then I think we go to a couple other bars. I'll skip through. And then we go to this martini bar. And this martini bar was at Center Camp, and it was like Alice in Wonderland theme, because the theme of Burning Man 2024 was Curiouser and Curiouser. It's all that like Alice in Wonderland kind of theme, going down the rabbit hole. And so we wait in line at this martini bar, and it's super like bougie, and like the martini glasses light up, and it's just cute and proper and prim. Meh. I loved it. So we wait in line for that. While we're waiting in line, there's a photographer who's taking some photos. And I'm like, hey, if you ever need a model, let me know. I want to take pictures. And his name was Dr. Wrong. Okay, so this whole podcast is going to be rabbit holes of conversation. You're just going to have to bear with me. So Dr. Wrong, he tells me, my name is Dr. Wrong because last year at Burning Man 2023, with all the mud, I predicted the weather because I'm a weatherman in my real job. I'm a meteorologist, and I was extremely wrong last year for the weather. That was the year of the mud. So he said his name is now Dr. Wrong, which I freaking loved that. I got the biggest kick out of that. So Dr. Wrong takes some photos of me. He's like, okay, well, you get your martini, and then after you get your martini, let's do some cool light exposure stuff. And he like went back to his camp. He got all these really cool lights, and we were prepared to do this like light painting, light exposure stuff. So, super cool. And then we get to the front of the line at the martini bar, and I'm looking for my ID. I can't find my ID. I'm like, okay, remember my spot in line, Mr. Bouncer guy, who we were already friends at this point. And we go and start looking back through all those little bars for my ID. And luckily, we went back to that first little Daytona grungy bar, and they had my ID right there behind the counter. And I was so grateful. So grateful. Oh, thank goodness. So got my ID back, went to the martini bar, had my martini. It tasted like ass. And then we did some light painting, light exposure stuff. So I was doing some handstands, and I don't know what I was doing. It was fun. But thanks, Dr. Wrong. I still have to reach out to you and get those pictures. I know you've reached out to me, but I'll get to you. Okay, so that was so fun. That was my miracle moment. There were two other times that we ran into people that were kind of crazy, and these were both on the man burn night, which is like really cool that like God wanted us all to be together for the man burn, I think. So with the people we were with, since I work the airport when I'm there, a bunch of the pilots get to come in and stay like one night at Burning Man. And we have some shift pods set up for them to come experience a night at Burning Man. And so they were prepared to come out with us for the man burn, but we were going a little slower than they were. And we being like me and a couple of my closer friends. And so they go out to see the man burn, and we're like, okay, we'll just do this night separately. That's fine. And like a bunch of our airport people just all split up for the man burn. It's kind of sad. So we're like, okay, but at least we have our core group of buddies, and we go out, and literally we go straight to the man burn. And I don't know how we lock up our bikes, we walk up closer to the man, we go around some art cars, and boom, the airport pilots are all dancing right there. I mean, I can't explain to you guys how far away everything is from everything, but it's insanely mind-blowing that we ran into them right there. And so we all huddle up as a group and we're all doing stuff together and go into different mutant vehicles and dancing and just experiencing what it's like to go, because the mutant vehicles are all these art cars that all have their own DJ sets and music, and it's pretty cool. So as you go around, and the man burn's a little wild because there's so much music on top of music, because all the art cars are in like a big semicircle around the man. And it's a little overstimulating with all the music, but it's super, super cool to see everything that close and like walkable. So we're walking around through all the art cars and dancing to all the different music, and it's just magical. Like, you see all these special people dancing and dressed up and spending time with their people and meeting new people. It's really, really, really cool. And as we just go about our ways, then we go find a special spot to get a good view for the man burn. Right in our special spot, we look to the left, and Tom and Tommy are right there, two of our really close, tight-knit besties, and they are like my gay boyfriends. Like, I love them so much. So love you, Tom and Tommy. I miss you so much already. Okay, but they were right there, so we got to watch the man burn with them, with the pilots, with all of our crew. It was so special. The man burn was incredible. It was just a special night. Okay, moving on. 3 questions. I have them written down. Morgan, what are your top 3 favorite art pieces from Burning Man 2024? My favorite one was just very sentimental, because I have a big place in my heart for Ukraine and what's going on in the Ukraine. I have some friends there who are from there, and I just feel for them and their families and what they're having to go through. I think it's so sad that anyone has to experience war like that. So there's this art piece in the deep Playa, and it reads, "I'm fine." And it looks really small from far away, but the closer you get to it, it's huge. With this art piece, so the artist, his name, and I'm going to butcher this name because it's Ukrainian, Oleksiy Sai. Oleksiy Sai. Oleksiy, last name Sai. Did my best. Shout out to you as an artist and what I'm sure you've had to experience. So this art piece, "I'm fine," it represents when someone's going through something absolutely horrendous. And when you go to ask someone on the street, "Oh, how are you? Good to see you. How are you?" "Oh, I'm fine. How are you?" And that "I'm fine," what does that really mean? What are they really experiencing and going through? So it spells out "I'm fine." And when you see it, you can't really see what it's made of until you get up close. And you go up close, and it's made of doors and car doors and big basketball hoops and stop signs. And they all have bullet holes in them, and they've been blown up from the war. And it's so sad to see that all of these things were actually people's property at some point. So that was the most sentimental and moving piece that I saw at Burning Man. And I got to meet the artist, which was really cool. He was very sweet, didn't speak much English, but just really great. Got to send him some love. And then my second favorite art piece is the penumbra. So it's really cool. It's like a penumbra is something that is an art piece that gives off a really cool light art, as well as the art itself. So it looks like a stack of wood, like Lincoln logs that are all stacked in a 4 square, but then the stack above it is just off by an angle. Stack above it's off by an angle, and it goes all the way up in a spiral to the top. And so you can climb this art structure, and that's one of the cool things about Burning Man is you can climb and interact with all of the art structures. And I climbed this one all the way to the top, and then at the top there's a handle, and you can spin it in a circle, and the light, it looks like a really old light bulb, and it goes up and down through the center of this wooden structure, and it casts these shadows that the shadows are the art. So in the daytime, it's just a climbable structure. At nighttime, it's this light up art that is so interactive and really cool. I'm adding a fourth art piece that I love because this one is super cool. So envision a big moving truck, ugly, white, nothing special. I go up to this bar and the moving truck's outside. I didn't even look at it, didn't notice it. And got my little crappy Gatorade and vodka or whatever they were serving. And then they're like, okay, you got to go check out this art piece and be careful with the knob. You can only touch the knob with one finger. I'm like, okay, cool. So I go and you have to wait in line. I wait in line and only 4 people are allowed in at a time. So I go in with my 3 other people and inside it's humid in there and there's water running. And I'm like, oh, this is nice. I can actually breathe. And you see there's this hawk sticking right out at you and there's water coming out of his eyes and there's mirrors along the whole sides of the truck. You don't even feel like you're in a truck. You feel like you're in this special secret room. And then on the ground, there's all this like moss and algae and it's just very tropical in there. And then the knob, I found the knob and it was just normal setting, normal music. But then you go faster, you spin the knob faster and the music starts speeding up, the water starts speeding up. But then if you go backwards with the knob, all the water starts reversing and it looks like it's going back into the hawk's eyes. The music starts reversing and it seems like time has stood still. And I think that was the name of it. It was like stopping time or the time traveling art piece or something like that. It was incredible. It was just the lights and the smoke, and it's the smoke and mirror show, but it was really, really well done. Okay, my absolute favorite art piece of Burning Man 2024, Coney McConeface, built by the Guardians of the Cone, a secret society of cone people, apparently. This was my favorite art piece. It was about a 60, 70-foot cone in the middle of the desert. Absolutely nuts. And yes, traffic cone, like you see on the side of the road, but 70 feet tall. Why was this my favorite? So I'm riding around by myself at Burning Man, middle of the day, and I go up to the cone, walk in the cone, and there is this like, it looks like a lemonade stand in there or something, but someone's in there giving a puppet show. At the top of the booth, it says puppet show, and there's a placard. You can flip the placard and get whatever you want there. I flip it to free advice, and I go in the booth and start giving free advice, and I'm like, there's a foam microphone. I'm like, free advice. I'm giving free advice to anyone on the playa. And someone takes me up on it and she's like, okay, I'm looking for free advice. What do you have for me? I was like, okay, well, what do you want free advice on? And so she gives me a little bit of what she's going through. I give her my best free advice from the heart and we hug it out. She's like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And that was such a special moment. And then I'm like, I like this. So I stay in there and I'm giving free advice for over an hour. Just spending quality time with strangers and giving them all free advice. That was the highlight of my Burning Man. At one point, there was a line out the cone of people getting free advice. It was so awesome. And after that, I just, rode my bike around and climbed on other art pieces. But that was a really, really cool part of Burning Man. Okay, question number 2. What is it like working at the airport? So the airport at Burning Man is a municipal airport where people can fly their planes directly onto the playa, and we have a bunch of chartered air pilots or airplanes that are flying in and landing on the playa and dropping people off. And it's the busiest airport in Nevada for that 1 week of the year. It's really crazy how it all comes together. And then to see who's running the airport is crazy. But shout out to everyone who makes this airport run and work so effortlessly because it's incredible. I love it. And so that's where all the celebrities fly in. And so we got to see Diplo, Gwyneth Paltrow. We saw Orlando Bloom. Last year we saw The Rock and Cindy Crawford. And it's just pretty cool. And working at the airport, so this year I did manifest and check-in, so I made sure that everything was weighed out properly and that people were just getting checked in and on the right flights. Like this year, someone gave someone else's ID and pretended they were someone else to try to get on a flight whenever they were trying to leave, and they got escorted out because that's extremely illegal to, pretend you're someone else. So that was kind of crazy. But the airport, we get the bougie life of Burning Man because we get fed, and they fly in fresh food from Reno. And so we get fresh Mexican food or fresh Italian, and it's delicious. So grateful for that. And then I get a shift pod from working for the airport. I don't have to pay my ticket. And it's just a win-win overall. I love working at the airport. And also it's a little further out from the city, so it's a little bit more quiet. And that is nice. I can get good sleep too. Okay, so question number 3. What is so special about Burning Man? Everything is mind-blowing, and it's mind-blowing thing after mind-blowing thing, and it just expands your creativity and your inspiration. Also, everyone is so radically self-expressed at Burning Man, so they're the most crazy, authentic versions of themselves, and that makes you love people just a little bit more. It's really cool to see everyone's most expressed selves, because in everyday life we do not get to see that. We get to see everyone's false persona they put on so that they're liked and loved and conforming to our society. But not at Burning Man. You get to see the craziest versions of everyone. It's special. Okay, I'm gonna go into my 5 tips, and then during my 7-minute chit chat I have like 5 flash stories that I'm gonna try to throw in there. Okay, tip number 1. I'm going to get to my page here. Tip number 1. Don't look for the best person in the room. Look for the best in every person, because everyone has something special to share and to bring to this world. And when you get to see that, when you get to see the excellence in that person, you get to appreciate them on a whole nother level. And at Burning Man, everyone's dressed crazy. You never know who is behind that chicken hat or who is behind that whale suit. You don't know what kind of costumes they have going on there, but you don't know who's behind the costume either. But there's some really special people if you look a little bit deeper past the whale costume. Tip number 2, get uncomfortable and don't be afraid to put yourself out there and do the things you normally wouldn't do. At Burning Man, we have the privilege to be able to do that. So what are some of those things? What does putting yourself out there look like? For me, it looked like getting myself onto every mutant vehicle I could. So every time I saw a DJ set that was on a mutant vehicle, I would go up to the art car. Art car and mutant vehicle is interchangeable. And go up to the art car, climb up the back of it, and then go experience it. Go meet people on the art car, stand behind the DJ, pretend I'm in VIP for a minute, and experience that art car. And it's really cool. And then there's different sets that are actual, like in the ground, not art car sets, but like big music sets. And going up to those, and there's always like stages or big platforms to play on. And so there are probably a couple thousand people in the audience. And I went up to the platform and I started go-go dancing by myself and doing handstands and yoga and just performing. And it was a scary moment, because what if I don't land my handstand? Because I didn't land my handstand. I fell out of it a couple times in front of a couple thousand people, and it's a little embarrassing, but also who the heck cares? So it was really cool to put myself out there in that way and just send it, basically. And then there was this dome thing, those little things you play on at the playground that are triangle shaped, but they're in the shape of a dome, and you climb up the side of them. You can climb all the way to the top, or you can go underneath them. There's one of those, And inside of it was a whole band and a singer, just this band and singer. And then there's a sign at the top that says "Off the Dome." And you go in and you sing from, you freestyle, play music and do your thing. I don't freestyle very well. I'm terrible at it. I think you heard in the last podcast episode, it's just not my forte. So I go in there and do my absolute best, but it was horrendous. I couldn't sing. My voice was cracking. It was just worst performance ever, personally, and it made me so uncomfortable. But I did it. I got uncomfortable. Get comfortable getting uncomfortable and doing things you wouldn't normally do, because it feels good to push yourself out of those boundaries we set for ourselves. Tea break. Okay. Tip number 3, go places alone. Like I said, I love to ride my bike alone on the playa. I love to get to know people and see who's behind the costume. I love playing on the art by myself and really experiencing all that Burning Man has to offer, and not having other people playing squirrel. And that's kind of what you call it whenever you're in a big group and you're all riding bikes around. There's so many things to go see and do. So it's like, squirrel, gotta go see this, squirrel, gotta go see that. And when one person's calling the shots, typically you can get a lot more done, or you can see a lot more, because the past few years, I've really let other people take the reins and lead where we're heading. But this year I was like, you know what? I want to trust my intuition. I want to go see as many things as possible. So some friends who I was with, they are the kind of people they'll go and they'll stay at one place for 5 hours, and not me. Like, I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's taste it. Let's leave. Let's go. Let's taste it. Let's leave. It's like a wine tasting. I want to taste everything. And when you're alone, you can really do that. You can go see and do as much as you want. You don't have to stay longer than you want to. So I really appreciate going and doing things alone. Tip number 4, people. People are like spiders. They are more afraid of you than you are of them. So don't be afraid to go up and have those conversations, get to know strangers, and then treat them like you've known them for your whole entire life. Someone did this to me at the airport on my last day, and he and his wife were there. They were getting checked in for their flight. They're running late. People are yelling at them to get on their plane. But he puts his hand on the table, leans in, looks me in the eyes, and is like, "What was your favorite moment at Burning Man?" And I was like, "Glad you asked. Coney McCone face." And I told him that story. But that moment, this man, he's never going to see me again, but he took a moment to make me feel seen, appreciated, loved, and valued. And that is so special. That's what I want to start doing for more people, is lean in, have that eye contact, ask them a deep question about their experiences or what they're going through, and have that moment with people. It's so meaningful and so special. So treat them like you've known them forever. Make eye contact, ask deep questions, seek love. Tip number 5. If someone asks, "Hey, can I have that?" or "Hey, can I have your blah, blah, blah?" be wary. They just might keep it. So on the last day of the burn was the temple burn. It's a Sunday. And the temple burn this year was a complete whiteout. You couldn't see a couple feet in front of yourself or your bike. And with that, you have your mask or goggles and you're all geared up, and you just kind of have to take it a little slow, and you don't really know where you are. So you're going to get lost. And so we go to the temple burn, and it was really, really special. We kind of caught the tail end of it, and we got there whenever you could walk up to the ashes of the temple burn. It's a very solemn time, because the temple burn is where the temple itself is where people go and bring memorabilia for when someone passes away. And so the energy is extremely somber. It's very quiet, and it also represents the impermanence of life, the impermanence of Burning Man. I'm going to try not to get emotional, but everything is so temporary. And when you see something all week and you appreciate it all week and you play in it and have a memory in there, like me with the cone. I had all these memories in there, and then walking up to the cone burn. By the way, we walked up at the cone burn at the very moment I pulled out my camera, started recording, and the cone was on fire, and it just, and it all crashed and fell to the ground. So glad I caught the end of that cone burn, because I had all those memories in there, and it was a very special moment for me. And to see that all get burnt down to the ground, into ashes and into dust, like, it just represents this impermanence of life. And so that's what it's like at the temple burn too, when we're all walking around the ashes. And it kind of looks like you're walking around what the gates of hell would look like. It's kind of creepy with the whiteout and all the fire, kind of crazy. So after the temple burn, we go to this bar, because it was the first place that we could find during this whiteout. Again, you can't see 2 feet in front of you. So it was me, Tom, and Tommy, and we go to this bar, and walking into the bar, it's very Mad Max. There's like bones. It looks like you're walking through an animal's rib cage when you're walking in, like a big dead animal. You're walking through these ribs, and then you go in, and there's like a really grungy DJ and playing some heavy rock music. Feels like a Daytona bar. There's lamps hanging from the ceiling, and they're all like fringy, and they're all swaying in the wind. It's kind of an open air space, but there's like cloth covering a little bit of it, so there's just enough light that you're not stuck in the whiteout. You don't really need your mask and goggles in there, but it still has that like eerie end of the world feel. So we went up to the bar, ordered drinks, and the bartender, he's got like a big clown wig on. He's got a clown nose on. He's got a cigarette sticking out of his mouth, and then another like black and mild sticking out of his mouth. And he's just really crazy looking. And he's like, all right, what can I get you? What can I get you? And he's getting Tom and Tommy their drinks. And then he's like, hey, you, pointing at me. I'm like, what? He's like, can I have a lighter? I'm like, yeah, sure. So I pull out my lighter and I give it to him. And then he takes this chain that's next to him and he pulls it down. And there's a big ball of tape and lighters. And he shoves my lighter in there, pulleys that thing back up with the chain, and goes, thanks. And I was like, oh, hell nah. He did not just take my lighter. And so I went full, crazy Morgan on him. And I'm like, hey, I think you made an absolutely terrible decision. You have no clue what you just did taking my lighter. And he was like looking at me. He's still playing hard and I'm still hard. And then all the bartenders behind him are like looking at him and looking at me. And I'm like, you made a bad move, man. You're going to want to give me that lighter back now. And then he's like, no, I'm not. I was like, okay, well, here's what you're going to do. You're going to make me a drink. And then you're going to get me my lighter back, or you're going to give me a lighter that's better than the one I gave you. And he's like, okay, fine. And then he's still playing hard and makes me my drink. And then he pulls the ball down and gives me a lighter that is better. He gives me a lighter from Portugal. And he like pulls out a little thing. And he's like, here, it does this, and this is why it's better, and blah, blah, blah. So I got my way. It was really funny. It was very sweet of him to do that. And then after that, I went and sat down and just hung out with Tom and Tommy for a minute. Everyone's dancing, having a good time. And then this one chick starts dancing on the bar. And I'm like, ooh, I want to dance on the bar. And I'm like, hey, Tom and Tommy, if I dance on the bar, that means I'm closer to the big ball of lighters. Maybe I can go steal some lighters. And so I'm like, okay. So I go run up there, get on the bar, start dancing, and then I go straight for the ball of lighters. And I'm like grabbing the ball, and I'm like starting to try to pull some lighters out of this ball. It was hilarious. And they're like, no, you can't do that. I'm like, it's Burning Man. I can do whatever I want. So it was fun. And then I didn't get any lighters. They were really stuck in there with that tape, but they distracted me. They took another chain and they pulled this. Okay, this is where it gets a little PG-13. They pull this chain down and there's a big dildo. And this dildo, it has a suction cup at the bottom of it underneath the ball section. And then there's people at the bar, and he starts giving people ball shots. He's like, hey, do you want to give these people ball shots? I was like, yeah. So I grabbed the big dildo, and he starts pouring whiskey into the ball cup, and I'm pouring from the balls into people's mouths. And again, there was a nice little line of like 10 people who were all in line for these ball shots. And it was so funny and so fun. It's just like only at Burning Man do you get to give people ball shots while standing on the bar in the middle of a whiteout with some clowns and some crazy people. It's just, you never know what you're going to experience. So that was really, really cool. So if someone asks, hey, can I have your lighter? Be wary. They might just take it. So those are my 5 tips. Okay, it's time for a 7-minute chit chat. I'm going to get out my little timer. I've got some stories for you guys, so I'm pumped to share. So you know about Griz. Diplo was there. And Diplo, I got to meet him at the airport, which was pretty cool. I did take a picture with him, so that was awesome. Okay, 7 minutes starting. Meow. Okay, so met Diplo at the airport. He was a nice guy. He left his water bottle, and we were all like, hey, get your water bottle. Okay, that was not part of the story. Sip of tea. Okay. But Diplo was cool, and his music sets were awesome. He crushed it. We went and we got to see him front row at the Cloud. It was like a big cloud kind of structure thing, and he's playing music there. So that was really cool. We got to start a band. So me and my boss, technically, her name's Sonia. Love Sonia. And then a couple other of our friends, Sonia's boyfriend, our friend Coco, we all started a band. So what does that look like? This was after Mickey Beach, and we go to this bar, and then we see outside of this bar that there's a huge concert set happening. But these people are lip singing music that we all know and love. I was like, what is this? What's happening here? And so we first go to the bar, we feel it out. We're like, what is this? What's happening? There's a bunch of people in jumpsuits with brooms, and they're all singing, I don't even remember what they were singing, but it was probably like American Idiot or something like that. And then while we're waiting to figure out what that's about, we did a shot ski. So a ski where there's 4 shot glasses stuck onto it, and then you pour the alcohol in it, and 4 of us are all lined up, and we take a shot from the shot ski. It was way too big of a shot. I had to spit the whole thing out. It was a mess. That's beside the point. So we go to the concert, and they're like, hey, so you can start your own band. What's the name of your band? And we're like, Lick Titties. And so that was our band name, was Lick Titties. And then one of our band members was like, oh, why are we the Limp Titties? Like limp? And we were like, oh, it wasn't. It was Lick, but now it's better with Limp Titties. So we changed it to Limp Titties. That was our band name. And they take you back and they bring you into the green room. So you go in the green room and you get your wig, you get your outfit, you get your items that you want to sing with. You determine who's going to be the drummer, who's going to be the singer, who's going to be the guitar players. And then you get out there, you climb up on the stage, and we sang You Gotta Fight for Your Right to Party. And we absolutely crushed it. Sonia, she was amazing. They said, limp titties, welcome, limp titties. And she flashes them, her perfectly perky titties. And it was hilarious. So we love that. Thanks, Sonia. And then we crushed it. Honestly, we had a big audience. Amazing band. And then my microphone for that, again, this is PG-13, don't judge me. But my microphone for this was a foot-long dildo. And it was hilarious. And I'm swinging that thing around like a helicopter, and that was just a highlight for me. How often do you get to do that and it be okay? Morally acceptable. So that was fun. And it's like, oh, no one's ever going to hear about this ever again until you tell everyone in your podcast. So here we are. So starting a band was so much fun. Swing City is always a blast. Swing City, it's like the people from Muscle Beach and Venice Beach in California. You know the swings that, they're not swings, but they're like rings that hang, like one ring and then another, and they're like I don't know, 6 feet away from each other, and you swing on them like a monkey. So they have that there. They have the aerial lyra there. They have a Chinese flying pole. They have silks, all the aerial apparatuses that I love so much. And also at Burning Man, there's aerial lyras, the hoops everywhere. So all the time I'm going and playing on hoops and teaching people how to do lyra and having a great time. So that was great. But Swing City, going there and playing on that, it's just a highlight for me, and meeting all these acrobats, I love it. So that's a lot of fun. Mutant vehicle hopping, that was a huge highlight of mine as well, because going on all these mutant vehicles, there's one that's like the San Francisco Bridge, and there's another one that's a huge dragon, and I got to go in the cockpit of this dragon and see like where you operate the huge wings and how it blows fire out of its mouth, and all the LED stuff that goes into it. It's just incredible. So the mutant vehicles are insane. Also, I'm so grateful for getting into Burning Man. If it weren't for John and Wendy, I wouldn't have been able to get to Burning Man this year. So I want to do a huge shout out to John and Wendy. Thank you so much, because they picked me up from the Vegas airport, took me to go see a Cirque du Soleil show. We went and had a delicious bougie dinner, played blackjack, just a great time overall. We rode together in their new RV. That was a blast. And it was, I mean, there were some trials and tribulations, but we made it work. And then we get there and they just had everything I needed. They brought me an electric bike. They brought me my air mattress. They brought me bedding. They brought me everything I needed that was going to be too much for me to carry on my flight. So all I had to do was really show up with some cute clothes and get my own food, and I was good to go. I didn't even need to eat my own food because they supplied so much food. Then the airport supplied so much food. And so the coolest thing about them, they did bring 4 or 5 camp meals that are super, super nice meals. Like they brought like ahi tuna, and they brought tacos that were like the best meat and the best herbs and the best of everything. And then everything had a drink that was paired with it. So we were spoiled rotten. So thank you, John and Wendy, for everything you guys did for me, getting me to Burning Man. Y'all are amazing. Such great friends. I love you so much. And I miss you. I'm ready to come back to San Diego and hang out again and see you all again. But that pretty much concludes my experiences with Burning Man 2024. There were so many other stories and experiences to share, but you know, with this time, I just thought of the top few that were off the top of my head, and hoping to, after this, share with you the videos and a little compilation video of all of my footage I took at Burning Man. So hopefully you guys get to see and enjoy that too, and see firsthand everything I got to see myself. I love you guys. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the 1357 podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, turn on the notification bell, all the things. Share this with a friend if you know anyone who loves Burning Man or really wants to go. And also follow us on Instagram at 1357 podcast. And then if you're interested, if you're a creator looking to share your story, your 1357, email me at 1357.pod@gmail.com. And I'd love to have you on, whether it's in my studio or virtually. Would love to do it. Hope you have an incredible day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Peace.
It's a strange thing.